We good? My name is Josh Berry, and 2 years ago I had a devastating brain injury. Doctors told me that this injury would heavily impact my future. I'm proving everyone wrong.
Josh Berry, a junior at Porter's Northern High School, is someone most people would see as an average high schooler. Growing up, he had a love for the sport of hockey, playing with various teams throughout his entire youth. What most people don't know about him is that when the two came together and Josh made the varsity hockey team his freshman year, he would experience a tragic, life-changing event most people can only hope they would never have to go through.
We had finished with practice, the players were getting changed. A number of them had left the locker room to, of course, leave, go home. And there were a number of players that were still in the process of getting changed, getting showered.
Well, we were out to eat and we got a phone call, and it was from the assistant coach, and we knew something must have been pretty bad because, the coaches are busy during practice, and they said, Josh has been hurt and you better get over here.
As a coach for another team, we were on the same ice surface. We had left to get off. Roughly about 10-15 minutes into that practice, I had a couple of players come out and ask for some assistance that something had happened in the locker room.
Alright, so I was sitting here, and one of my kids on my team, we were messing around, and then he's walking away. I'm like, see you later. And then he was like joking around, got mad, pushed me backwards. I flew back and hit the back of my head right here on this corner of the bench, and then woke up, I was kind of out of it.
So we actually left the restaurant without paying our bill. We went back later to pay for the bill. But at that time, I didn't know if it was a head injury or if, there was something else going on. I didn't really understand, the catastrophic impact that we were going to face at all.
Came off the ice, gone back into the locker room to see where Josh had been laying on the floor.
Tried to stand up, and then I ended up falling back down and hitting my head again on this wall right here.
He wasn't responsive to any of our questions. He was conscious. He had eye movement, but he just did not seem coherent.
When we got to Wings, there were 3 teammates of Josh actually waiting on the curb for us, and Jim dropped me off. And I do remember one of the kids saying, "Mrs. Berry, you need to hurry."
Tried to talk to him, tried to assess maybe what had happened, made sure he was breathing properly, made sure that he had clear passage to his airway, and continued to try to find or keep him somewhat awake until emergency services had arrived.
I remember lying down on the stretcher in the locker room. I was throwing up.
When I went in, Josh was in a restraining neck protection gear. I did say, "Hi, Josh," and he said, "Hi, Mom, I love you." So I knew that he was coherent enough to speak.
Before I knew it, the ER, everyone was there, the ambulance, stretchers, my parents, all my teammates. I looked around, I just saw they were all ghosts, didn't know what was going on. It was just kind of a scary moment. One of my teammates was keeping me calm, joking around with me. I was getting a good laugh, and then right as the doctor said, "We're gonna take you to the ambulance," it was almost like a dream. Right as they picked up the stretcher, it just kind of vanished until when I got to the hospital.
The team certainly reacted calm, cool, and collective from the time that the incident had occurred to the time that, quite honestly, emergency services had taken him out of the locker room and into the hospital.
Josh was taken to Bronson Hospital in downtown Kalamazoo, where he was admitted into the intensive care unit.
I was asking my mom and a doctor if I was going to be okay, and they seemed to avoid the question.
By that time, I was sure he had a concussion. They did a CT scan, and he came back with an occipital skull fracture, and it was depressed. So it was going to be watched by the neurologist that night because they had seen traces of a brain bleed, and they decided not to do surgery to watch it.
Well, there's two distinct phases for me. It was when he was in intensive care for 3 days, it was just a blur. But then when they transferred him out to the hospital room, it kind of got more scary to me once he got out of ICU, because it became apparent he couldn't do things. He couldn't write his name, he couldn't stand up, he couldn't walk, and so reality began to set in that this was going to be pretty serious.
With their teammate now in the hospital, the team rallied around Josh and showed their support by bringing his jersey onto the ice with them and placing it behind the bench during games.
I think that type of adversity helped to bring them together much closer, to make them realize that the importance of looking out for each other and taking care of each other and making sure that we aren't doing anything to hurt each other, but to just, be a team and work together as a team.
Josh, on the other hand, now faced a long, challenging road to recovery.
I couldn't eat, couldn't drink, I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own, I couldn't walk, I was just nonstop throwing up, just nauseous.
It was kind of slow. I mean, everything slowed down because he required so much care. Somebody had to be with him, at all times.
His weeks were filled with either a regular appointment to his pediatrician weekly, or an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist, and then some neurosurgeon follow-ups.
I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to eat again. I had to learn how to basically do everything like a new child. I received a tremendous amount of support from all of my friends and my family. I had probably over 100 text messages on my phone alone, saying, I hope you're okay, you can get through this. All of my friends were on Twitter tweeting at me, just saying, I hope you get better. My parents, they were with me the whole time. And it was just kind of cool knowing that I had all these great friends that came to support me in my time of need. This stick was given to me by the Western Michigan Bronco hockey team. It was signed by every single player on the 2011-2012 team. It was given to me just for some extra support, as like a get well gift.
Now unable to play the game, Josh decided to remain part of the team by becoming a team manager.
The doctor wouldn't let me play. He said absolutely no way. And so I decided to become a manager so I could be with the senior class who was with me. They were by my side all throughout my injury, and I just wanted to be with them. I was basically still a part of the team, just an injured player, couldn't go on the ice.
After a year and a half away from the game, Josh could not contain his passion for hockey, and he made the decision to return to the ice.
I just wanted to return to hockey because that was my childhood. Hockey was everything I did growing up. Travel, I put so much time and effort into it.
The hockey was not important to me at all anymore, but I wasn't going to say no to him.
When he had approached us about coming back this year, we were somewhat reluctant, not knowing what his physical being would be once he got onto the ice and what kind of rigors he could handle.
During the course of Josh's injury, we certainly put a lot of his fate in the hands of the medical profession. They were the ones who released him, so why then wouldn't I trust them to tell me that he's well, since I trusted them with his life when he was so sick? I probably would have rather had him not, but I know also what it's like to be a teenager and want to be involved and be a part of it.
Having Josh back on the ice is a good thing. I think anybody who is experiencing high school needs to have that extracurricular, may it be sports or theater, or the arts, something, but definitely having him involved I think is good for him. I think it's good for the team.
Josh played in several scrimmages at the beginning of the season, but on January 18, 2014, he made his first ever high school start. his first time playing in an official game since the injury almost 2 years ago. The result was an 8-0 victory over Holt High School, with Josh receiving the game puck.
This puck is from my first game as a high school goalie. This is my junior year, so this is after I came back from the recovery. First game I've ever played in ever since my injury, and we won 8-0, so it was my first high school shutout.
Josh continued to play in several other games throughout the season, but one thing was sure, he was back.
It was really fun being around the guys again and being part of the guys, not being up in the stands.
It's good to see him back so that he can look back at his high school experiences being involved in something important like a team sport.
I just feel like the games I did play in this year, I definitely proved my point to people who told me that I couldn't do it, that I would never be the same, I would never be as good as I was. This is the Jimmy Arnold Courage Award. This award means the most to me because it's presented to a player in the league that has gone through a lot and persevered through a lot. And so I just thought it was really neat to be honored in such a way.
You know, what he did on the ice, the performance, those kinds of things, they're just different. They just didn't matter as much to me as they did before. I just knew that just wasn't as important as having him strong and healthy and that kind of thing, and we're fortunate to have that back.
Josh's return to the game can be seen as the defining moment of his recovery, letting everyone know that he was back to who he was, and more importantly, that nothing could hold him back. Nothing could keep him down.
Every time I come back to this spot, just think about how much my life has changed, how my perspective on life is completely different.
In some ways, he got a second chance, and so I want to encourage him to use that because not everyone gets a second chance.
I've realized that life isn't a right, it's a privilege.
If I look back at that, what positive things came out of it? We had a lot of good old family time. Things slowed down. I left work. We played games. When he was awake, there was a lot of interaction. So, there really were blessings in it.
It just made me realize not to take any moment in my life for granted.
Turn it up.